ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
From walking on thin ice to dancing on the mountaintop, the Brisbane Lions never stopped believing. Chris Fagan and his Lions win it all in 2024.
That's Corbin Middlemas calling the Lions flag last year. Premiership glory. It's the whole point of the AFL season. We've had 25 rounds of football. We've separated the wheat from the chaff. Now begins the postseason, final season. And here's the thing. We believe that if you have a team in September, you can definitely win the thing. That's the point. Brisbane did it from 5th last year. This episode is about explaining exactly why each remaining team is going to lift the cup late September. The man who soundtracked the Lions moment is going forecast mode. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. Corbin Middlemas is here for his annual forecast of the 8 finals teams and why they can definitely, almost certainly, win the AFL Premiership. Corb, we're going to start with 8, work our way up. Hawthorn Hawks, they have many names. Why is their name on the trophy in 2025?
Well, they've got plenty of guys, Stacky, that are not afraid of the occasion. That there are a bunch of guys that don't lack any kind of self-belief, and I actually think that's going to hold them in good stead come September. We saw it last year in the run that they were able to make, and really went within the width of the post of beating Port Adelaide in that semi-final and coming from an 0-5 start to make it all the way through to the Final Four. Unlike last year, where they were the spruik team of the competition and sort of everybody jumped on the bandwagon, this year it feels like they've almost been waiting for this month to roll around again, that they've just been sort of plodding their way through the regular season, banking the wins that they need to get and pacing themselves primed for a September assault. Plus, they've got Jack Gunston, who seems to be doing the Benjamin Button at this advanced age and playing the best footy of his career.
He was never missing it. Forget your score review. Jack Gunston's got 7 to equal a career night. 7 goals, 4 on another extraordinary night, and now 60 goals for his season.
And he's someone that at least knows the way for from a Hawthorn point of view as someone that's obviously been there, done that.
The Gold Coast Suns are into finals for the first time. A club that is usually in Bali right now wants to influence the flag race. How will they win it?
It's 2 guys, isn't it? It's Rao and it's Anderson. It lives and dies with these 2, that if they're up and going, the Gold Coast are a chance to beat anyone in the competition.
Taps down, does Wits to Anderson. Hands it on to Miller. Miller hands it to Rao. Fends away from McGrath with contempt and kicks a brilliant running goal from 50. Matt Rowell.
If they're not, it's very hard to try and plot a path to victory for them. The other thing that they've got is a dependable ruckman in Jared Witts, so you think they're going to get enough looks throughout, Anderson and Rao. It's just one about whether the opposition teams can contain them, and if they're able to get off the chain, they're going to keep the Gold Coast Suns in every single game of footy. They've got David Swallow's departure. A spiritual leader at the football club has announced his retirement, and Damien Hardwick confirming that he will play in the final. So here's a guy that's 248 games in. He's been there from the jump, and after 15 seasons, when they create a bit of history and make their way through to the first final series, they've got an inspirational figure that's been waiting literally his entire career for this moment. They've got a coach that knows what it takes to take his team to the top of the mountain. And I think that the element about the fact that they haven't played finals before, maybe that works for them. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And I actually feel like there's part of that will allow this Suns team to actually play freely.
We're used to the Dockers falling at the pre-finals hurdle. They cleared it versus the Dogs. They have a coach who is on staff, inverted commas. How is Justin Longmuir piloting them to being flag mantle?
Well, it's an amazing dichotomy between, the end of their regular season to the start of the final series. To think that they were heavy underdogs going to Melbourne, it was almost like everyone had given up on them after the fade-out they had at the end of 2024. And yet they pull off this spirited victory.
As the siren sounds, Fremantle win their way into September. There's no final round pain this year.
Now they're at home against a Suns team where they're going to start as a significant favourite themselves, and how they're going to handle that expectation and the weight of that is something that Justin Longmuir is going to have to work his way through. To make the case for the Dockers, I mean, outside of the Brisbane Lions, they have the best record against any of the top sides. The knock on Fremantle has been the slip-ups against teams like St Kilda and Melbourne along the way in games that they should win. They travel well, and they'll need to. They've got the exuberance of youth, and they're chasing history, which is something that they've lent into rather than feeling like a burden or a weight. We've heard so many of their players in the past talk about wanting to be the first group to win one for a club that hasn't got there as yet. Similar to what I touched on with David Swallow, they've got that in Nat Fyfe as a inspirational club figure on the way out. This is the time to get one for him before he departs the game.
The big sounders coming from Western Sydney. The Giants have at various times been considered a flag favourite, a season write-off, coming from the 5th seed, the same lane that Brisbane claimed it from last year. Can you talk up the Giants for me?
3 years under Adam Kingsley, they've now played finals in all of them. Remembering before that, they were like a bottom 4 team when he took the reins. They have played finals now in 8 of the last 10 seasons. So again, it's a side that knows all about September. They've got plenty of experience in the spring. And they're out on really a redemption run, aren't they, from last year? You mentioned the Brisbane run. Brisbane went through the Giants in a final that they led by a significant margin. The G-Men also coughed up a significant advantage against the Swans in a qualifying final. So similar to the Hawks, I feel like they've been waiting for September back to play their best footy. And we have seen against the best this year, that is when the ball movement has been at its best. And why I mentioned ball movement, we talk a lot about the orange tsunami. That is the trademark for GWS when they're up and going. And they've got Toby Green.
Sinclair, long direct kick out down the corridor.
Oh my God!
With a back of the flight of the football.
That was huge.
Disregard for his own safety.
He is the kind of guy that can pull this team over the line. So when you're in possession of him, that always makes you dangerous.
Into the 4 we go, and it's early season pace setters Collingwood, who get a rematch with Adelaide. That was an epic home and away season clash. How is it that the Pies, who have been in a late season slide, will be victorious in late September?
Well, I think we're hoping we can lean on a little bit of form from 2023 where they had a similar dip coming into the final series. It wasn't quite as dramatic and they didn't lose positioning on the way through. They were still able to finish number 1 and ultimately obviously go on and win the flag, but they did have a dip in the back end of the season. This is a little bit more of a hole, 5 of their last 7, but they've won it in 2023. So again, they've got guys that know what it takes to win. The lion's share of the team remains from that unit. They were the best side for most of the year and by some margin when that dip started. So I guess if you want to rewind to the months of June and July, you'll be able to lean into some pretty good form there. They do have the best player in the competition in Nick Dacos, and that's always a good thing.
Schultz hands it off to Nick Dacos, the master from 45. He's incredible! Nick Dacos!
Jordan De Goey in that last home and away game against Melbourne, even though they had to pull it out of the fire. I think the positive signs there from a Collingwood perspective was he's their X-Factor player and that's as good as he's looked. And the last thing is the fact that they're a big game team. They're used to playing in front of big games with high expectations, with significant consequence, and that's what the Magpie Army and over 100,000 members brings with it. Their campaign starts in Adelaide where they've got a good record. They've won 10 of their last 11, but I don't think they'll be too daunted wherever they end up around the country that their game travels. It probably felt like since the middle of July that they were waiting for September to start. And so how much do you read into what's happened since and how much do you hold faith in what you saw through the first 17 weeks of the season?
The reigning premiers sit third. Brisbane has had a torrid final draw to the regular season. So how is it that Fagan's boys can get themselves back up to go back-to-back?
Well, I think they're battle-tested. So, I mean, you look at their opponents in week 1. Over the last 6 weeks, Geelong have had the easiest run. They've had the hardest. And Chris Fagan lent on this last year when they actually beat Geelong in their preliminary final, saying, look, we were battle-tested on the way in. They won it last year. So, again, they're a team with sort of recent premiership success and equity in the bank, which obviously helps them on that front as a bunch of guys that know the path. They've got the best record against the top sides in the competition.
Hawthorn will be on the road in an elimination final, but Brisbane are roaring back to September. They've won by 10 in an all-timer at the Gabba.
And I actually think what that speaks to, and the fact that their road record is so good, I think they've lost something like 3 of their last 21 away from home, and it's an incredible record. I think what that shows is when the situation motivates them, when they feel like they're in a hostile environment or where they come up against really good opposition, that they're locked in and they're ready to go. And I can understand that for a team that's now playing their 7th consecutive final series, that maybe when you play Melbourne at home and you drop a game you shouldn't, you're probably thinking, look, we're not quite locked in the same way that we would be when we come to Melbourne to play Geelong in a high-stakes qualifying final. So I actually think that bodes well for Brisbane. I really like their form line. And they've already done something that recent premiers haven't been able to do. If you look at the last 2 years, the reigning champs didn't even make the finals the following year. Collingwood last year, Geelong the year before that. And we haven't actually had the reigning premiers win a final in the following season since Richmond in 2020. So I think what we've already seen from Brisbane in a season which is getting longer and longer, the summers are getting shorter, there's less preparation for teams that go the whole way through and obviously have success at the end. I think that already shows that this is a different reigning premier, that this is a team that is here to contend. And I think they're a team that absolutely we should take very, very seriously in September, the Brisbane Lions.
The Cats are purring. They've got vets like Dangerfield, Insta X-Factor like Bailey Smith, leadership chops like Jeremy Cameron. Is Geelong the greatest team of all?
Health is wealth. So I think that's one thing that's on their side. So Toby Conway is the only man who's on the injury list, and his name, unfortunately, has almost been chiselled in the stone. He's been there for so long, but really all of their first-choice players are available. I think they've improved significantly on the team that obviously went out in last year's preliminary final. Handy additions, guys like Jack Martin, for example, star-started additions in Bailey Smith, who's obviously an All-Australian, won the Coaches Award and is in Brownlow medal contention.
Bailey Smith collects, has a shot at goal. What a snap from Bailey Smith. He's had plenty of the footy tonight and he's added a goal.
They won it in 2022, so enough of the guys that are still there that have been there and done that in the past, they finished top 2. So really, if they take care of business in their finals, they won't have to leave Victoria again, albeit those games obviously will be played at the MCG instead of Cardinia Park, but that's another conversation for another time.
The pride of South Australia is the number 1 seed. The Crows should be the easiest sell, so close the deal for us, Corbs.
Well, they've lost once at home all year, and they've got 2 home finals coming up. So you need to beat them there to keep them out of a preliminary final. And if they win the first final, then that's almost a direct passage right through to grand final day. And then, as we know, anything can happen on the last day in September. They've lost once since round 11. So it's one of these things where I feel like we hit this week and we all try to make the case for other sides, and you look at that team and you go, that they've lost 1 game since round 11, since the start of June, and that was by 3 points in 4-degree temperatures down in Launceston in a match that they led late in the piece, and if it wasn't for a late goal to John Newcombe, they would have walked out with the 4 points that day. So, winning form is good form.
It's taken 9 years, but Adelaide finally conquers the final game. The Crows confirm their premiership credentials. They win by 3 in an epic.
I think the one thing that they haven't got clearly with the other 3 teams that they share the top 4 with, the other 3 teams are the last 3 premiers sitting alongside them, obviously, in the Lions, the Pies and the Cats. They haven't got the recent finals experience, so it depends how much you want to lean into that or not. This is their first finals campaign since 2017, and they returned to the finals as they did then as the minor premiers and all the advantages that come with it.
Every game of the AFL Final Series will be on the ABC Listen app live and commercial-free. Corbin Middlemas will be calling a heap of it. Corb, thanks so much for your time.
Anytime. Thanks, Daggy.
Headlines. Some scary news around colleague Mick Malthouse. The ex-Collingwood Premiership coach had to fight off 3 allegedly armed attackers at his Melbourne home. Malthouse took care of them with an exercise bar. It's understood they fled the scene, and the 72-year-old refused medical attention. He's still going to call Friday night footy. What a weapon. Tennis, where Alex de Minaur has fallen short at the quarter-final stage of a Grand Slam again. Both he and Felix Auger-Aliassime look to be fighting nerves as well as their opponent in an awkwardly tight match. The Canadian ultimately shone through in 4 error-riddled sets. The Demon again battling with his service in crucial moments. He knows he just let a big opportunity slip.
I've played quarterfinals where I played Yannick and he was just too good, right? And there's not really much I could have done, but felt like this one was on my racket, and it is a shame. I don't know how I'll handle it. I'm definitely, as of right now, seeing red, but yeah, I'll I'll get over it. It's just tennis, right?
Aliasem now has to take on the red-hot favourite Yannick Sinner. In the women's, American Amanda Anisimova knocked out Iga Swiatek to set up a clash with Naomi Osaka in the semis. Changes for the Wallabies ahead of the clash with Argentina. Captain Harry Wilson back at number 8 as Valentini moves to flanker. Will Skelton has been called back to club footy in France. Tom Liner is back from concussion as James O'Connor shifts from fly half to the bench. Andrew Kellaway will go to fullback, replacing Tom Wright after he injured his ACL. That game Saturday afternoon in Townsville, 2:30pm Queensland time. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Poppy Penny.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.